Welcome to Voices Uniting, everyone. I'm Larry Davis.
And I'm Dr. LaKisha Barrett. We're getting to the end of the semester, Larry. How does it feel?
It feels great now that I've had you to share this studio with me this season.
I have had such a great time learning with you, all of our things that we've been doing in the classroom. And today we have two more exciting guests that are going to be here to share their experiences in the classroom and their work.
Yes, we do. Our guest today is from ACC's Welding Technology Department. Christopher Portillo comes to us from the Riverside campus, and he's been teaching at ACC since 2021. He's a Princeton graduate with a bachelor's degree in economics. After Princeton, he changed careers and came to ACC to study welding and received his associate's degree in cold welding. Upon graduating, he became a professional welder in Austin, working in various sectors of the industry like the semiconductor field, as well as in structural fabrication and erection.
I am thrilled to learn more about this department and the work that they're doing with their students. Welcome to the show, Professor Portillo.
Thank you very much for having me.
Chris, one of the questions we love asking our faculty members is, why did you decide to become a teacher, and tell us a little bit about your teaching philosophy?
Sure. So I am a product of ACC Welding Technology. That's right, I'm a Riverbat. I went through the program in 2015 and graduated in 2017 with an associate's degree. And I just had this unbelievable experience here. I was blessed to have incredible instructors, mentors, and I just found the teaching and learning environment to be like second to none. And I mean, that's saying a lot, considering that I was very fortunate to go to one of the more elite universities in the country and in the world. But I consider the ACC environment to just really be just such a special place. And I kind of think that at the time even I thought if I ever had the opportunity to come back and be a part of this and contribute to this program, I would jump at the chance. So a few years ago, I was invited to consider teaching as an adjunct, and I've seized it and I haven't looked back. I love ACC, and I think it has so much to offer students. My teaching philosophy, essentially it's founded in the belief that all my students have basically unlimited potential, and just with some thoughtful instruction and encouragement more than anything, that and potential can be unlocked. So that's kind of how I approach my classes.
I love that. I am all about the hidden potential and the power of becoming.
Yes.
And coming through like that traditional undergraduate experience from Princeton and then coming back to community college. I am in love with your teacher heart, because you really are where the center of the universe comes from when people who want to change their lives through that transformative power. So thank you for bringing all of that world-class knowledge right back here to ACC.
We really do appreciate that, Chris. So what about welding has a specialty and a career focus appeal to you?
Oh, okay. Well, so yeah, obviously pretty different. It's a different career than a lot of my classmates from my undergraduate career ended up in. Yeah, instead of investment banking, say, or working in finance, I definitely took an unconventional path. But I worked on oil rigs as a roughneck. And in doing that, I got exposed to welding. I would work sometimes with the rig's welder in helping him like accomplish projects. And so I got to see this process where this man took electricity and he put metal together, and it just like kind of cast a spell on me. I was pretty mesmerized by it. And so when I was hanging up my hard hat from the oil field, when my wife had enough of me living rotationally and working on these far-flung places and coming back a zombie, it was time to kind of take a different tack. And so I decided I wanted to learn a trade, and it had stuck in my head, this experience of working with this welder. And so I started exploring welding, and I came to ACC and I met with Troy DeFreitas, the then department chair and now the dean of the DMCAT section of the college, and he convinced me that I could learn welding at ACC, and he was not wrong. So that's how I ended up as a welder.
That's a phenomenal story. Troy has really affected so many of our students and faculty's lives, and to see him now in the dean position just lifts my heart, because it all, like I said a second ago, it all starts from that one single point about how can we transform our lives, not only our students, but also our faculty. So tell us a little bit about the classes you teach. Do you have a favorite one? And tell me why.
I don't really have favorites, but I do enjoy teaching introductory level classes, because it's like you're getting students that are coming in with little to no experience, and then you can see them transform and develop skills and transform into welders. So that's a really satisfying sort of thing to go along with those students and see that journey. So
I love it. It's like you get to learn something new. They get to learn something new. You both get to see how you grow, and then taking off that transformative power from economics to welding, you can do the same thing in the classroom for the students. Oh, yes.
Chris, tell us about some of the things students do in the welding class and the different pathways available.
So in our classes we have, within the umbrella of the Welding Technology Department, there's several different sort of subcategories of routes that you can take, and so there's the code welding branch of the Welding Technology Department, and that teaches those technical skills that I was talking about. So students will learn various processes to various degrees of proficiency, from introduction to advanced. And then there's also like an ornamental architectural side of the department, where they can learn like sort of the more creative, right-brained side of metalworking, and that includes like blacksmithing and various fabrication classes. And then there's also an inspection curriculum that we offer, so they can learn to become welding inspectors. So it kind of runs the gamut of metal-related science.
With so many diverse tracks, tell me about the students you have in your classroom. What kind of walks of life do they come from? How diverse are they, and how have you saw that transformative power play out through many different types of students we see in the classroom? Yeah,
so my students truly do come from all different ages and backgrounds. I have, last semester I had a 16-year-old student that was taking dual credit courses and was still in high school. And this semester I have a 77-year-old retiree that is, I don't think they're looking for a second career, but they're very interested in learning the skill, and they have hobbies that they want to apply that to. So it just really runs the gamut, and many of the students that are there to learn vocational skills that they can then apply to jobs that are going to earn them income and earn them a living. But it really does, it varies across the spectrum. So it's truly representative of the community at large. So
we talk about these neo-traditional students all the time, how they live in these intersectional spaces. We have our parenting students, we have our adult learners, we have our students who need accommodations. Everyone is coming here to transform their life, and serving more than 40% of non-traditional students, or these neo-traditional students, does count for those workforce programs, those continuing educations, those adult education programs, as long as the ones in academic as well too. I'm so glad that we give them so many different choices to come from, because who knows what your next career could be. And here, you can find it right at ACC.
You might go from being an economist to being a world-class welder. So, Chris, what have you observed over the years in teaching all of these different types of individuals? Where do they thrive? Where do they succeed? And where do they struggle? Or what typically tends to be the challenges?
Yeah, so welding, when most students first start welding, it can be kind of daunting. There's a lot happening. They're dealing with this extreme heat, and they're dealing with this light, and they're having to wear this protective clothing, and a lot of things are kind of disorienting, and it can be really frustrating when students are first starting out. So I feel like students really thrive when the little victories that they accomplish when they're first learning are really emphasized, so that they can keep clawing up to the next level and to the next level, and get hungrier for the more difficult projects. So I feel like just creating a positive environment for a learning environment is really important. That's what I experienced a lot of. That's what I experienced a lot of as a student. I just had a lot of positive reinforcement, and it made me, and in turn, I think it made me want to learn more. And I'm just trying to sort of pay that forward to my students, and I see that's when students really thrive and succeed, is when they're given these just positive reinforcement for the things that they're doing well. I think that when I find that students might be struggling, it oftentimes is like external to class, and it can be like financial hardships, financial burdens. I do hear there's a number of like kind of expensive tools or semi-expensive tools and equipment and PPE that students have to purchase,
Right.
in addition to paying tuition, which is very affordable. But even at the affordable rates, that can be a burden for some students. So I'm really heartened by this like pilot program that we're offering to extend free tuition to high school graduates. That's like really exciting, because at least hopefully it can take down one of those barriers that might be a barrier to learning for students. So.
Tell me how you've worked to make your classroom and your coursework, your department, a place where every student can succeed. And is there any takeaways or tips that you can share with us to help us professors in the classroom?
Yeah, so I like to start every semester, and this can be kind of daunting for some students, but I do like a little round robin on the first day of class, where when we're introducing the syllabus and going through sort of the rules and sort of talking through the policies of the college generally, but the welding department specifically. Before jumping into all that, I like to do a little round robin where we just introduce ourselves and say a little bit about ourselves and what brings us to the welding department. I think that there's kind of plants a seed for people to sort of get to know one another, and it allows me to sort of get to know my students just at a very basic level to start, and then later on, throughout the semester, I can get to know them a little bit more based on what little I may have gained from that first day, and so I think just developing rapport with students is really important. And that's, again, I'm just modeling this off of the experience that I had. So I got to know a lot of my instructors extremely well, and they became mentors and they became special people in my life. And so I'm just trying to emulate that. And so that's sort of my approach in that way. Kind of additional takeaways that other instructors might use is really utilizing my office hours. So I like to, outside of like extra class instruction, office hours are really important for doing one-on-one instruction. So students that may be struggling in different areas, I like to meet with them outside of class, if possible, one-on-one, if it meets their schedule. And additionally, even outside of office hours, a couple times a semester, I try to have like an open lab day where that's like maybe office hours were always a conflict for those students, and so I try to make sure that there's like a day where students can come in and work one-on-one on things that they're struggling with, because those times, they're often the times that I find that there are big breakthroughs and kind of big light bulb moments. So those just they've really played out and shown a lot of success there in those types of things. So.
I love it. Learning happens outside of the classroom.
Chris, now we have to take a short break, but we're going to be right back.
Stay with us so we can meet Elliott, Professor Portillo's student.
Let's do this.
Welcome back to Voices Uniting Everyone with our guest faculty, Christopher, and now his student, Elliott Roethlisberger, who comes to us from the ACC Riverside campus, where he's a welding technology student. Welcome, Elliott.
Thank you so much for having me along.
Please tell us a little bit about why you came to ACC for college and how long you've been here.
So this is actually my first semester here, and I came because I've been working in metal fabrication for 3 years, and I was just looking to learn more about specifically welding. I find that fascinating and would love to kind of move more into welding kind of full-time for work.
That's amazing. And art, I hope. I feel like art is going to be a topic that we talk a lot about today. Tell me, why did you choose welding as a program? Like, I heard a little bit about it, but if you could elaborate and tell me what excites you. You said you find it fascinating.
Sure. So I've always loved like building things, and also just science and kind of that side of things, and just the science of how it all works. I kind of learned from nothing when I started my first metal fab job, and I was always asking questions that I just sometimes wasn't getting the answers to, because some of them didn't know. You know, it was kind of probably they weren't necessarily educated on the topic. They'd just been doing it through experience. And so I worked alongside a extremely skilled welder, but I would always ask him questions, and he many times didn't have like satisfactory answers to them, really. And so part of that is just me wanting to learn more about it, and also just loving it at the same time. Yeah.
I love it. Lifelong learner and science.
Absolutely.
Science is all around us. It all comes from that electricity, you're telling me, right? The types of metals that you're bonding together. You got to know about electrons. You got to know about how they're going to come together and make it. Okay, I'm not going to go into science talk, but that makes me really,
You can go into science talk anytime you like. So, Elliott, what is the career goal or dream once you've completed this training?
I mean, there's so many different ways you can go. You know, underwater welding, you guys were talking a little bit about. That would be super cool. My goal is definitely I want to travel. I want to make a good living. And I mean, welding is definitely a good path for that, I believe. I would love to just travel everywhere. Aerospace, I think, would be fascinating to get into as well. I know there's a lot of welding in that, and it's a very specialized field. There's things in, you know, the culinary industry that have their own special certificates, and or I mean, kind of the end-all be-all, I think, of the welding world is like pipeline a lot of the time, right? And they have kind of a lot of different ways that you have to weld for that kind of stuff too. So it's all super interesting. Like, kind of like you mentioned, I would love to make sculptures as well sometime, you know. I love art as well. I kind of like Chris came from a background that has nothing to do with welding. I have a bachelor's in guitar performance, and now I ended up here welding. So yeah, art is definitely very important to me, and something I'd like to pursue as well with the welding too.
It's great. It's like versatility, like just baked in with so many things that you learn. So tell me, like, what does a class look like to take it here? What kind of academic training have you been receiving? We talked a little bit about the lecture side, about the lab side. So give us some insight into that.
Okay, so I've done so far just the actual physical welding classes. I'm going to be doing kind of the blueprint stuff coming up here, but in all, I'm doing 3 different classes right now, all 3 different types of welding, and they're teaching me actually a lot of really good stuff that I wish I'd known previously that I never even really thought about. So kind of how we were welding in different positions. You know, sometimes in the real world we have to like hang off the side of a building to get to the little spot that we need to weld, or we end up in really tricky situations, and I never really thought that I needed to think about, okay, how exactly am I welding this? You know, is it going to be on top of me this way? Is it going to be like around over this way? I just thought I needed to weld it the same regardless of what's going on. And so they're teaching us a lot of different joints that I've seen before, and then different positions, which is sort of which direction are you welding in, and how is gravity going to affect what's going on, because this is liquid metal and you have to think about that stuff. And you know, once you do a pass, and if something happens and you have to go back and fix it, it'd be better to not have to do that. If you are educated, you can kind of know what to expect beforehand, you know.
This is physics. You're getting me so
Exactly.
excited.
Yeah.
This is physics.
Physics and
and
science.
also spatial perception and how your mind is going to reconcile that before you apply it, keeping yourself with all your PPE, with everything that you need to get going, but making sure that that weld is going to be spot on, right? How do we say that? Fish on, weld on?
Well, sure. Like we do now.
Well, Elliott, we know this is just your first semester, but what would you say you've enjoyed the most about the welding program so far?
I mean, it's been a crazy experience so far. I think just my previous experience has helped me a lot, but just meeting the people, having good relationships with some of the students, and then my teachers are all super cool. Even the ones that I haven't taken classes yet, you know, I like talking to people, and so just kind of picking everybody's brain about different things and things like that. And then also just the opportunities that I've received. I got to, well, participate in the Skills USA competition, which was crazy. I got to kind of do some higher level welding tests, actually, that are usually sort of at the end of the program, that I'm super excited about that. And yeah, so just sort of the opportunities and the people. It's been a super positive experience. I don't know, my old job, it was one really eye-opening thing was everybody was always sort of in a stormy mood at work, you know, and like unhappy and just swearing like sailors all the time. And I just thought that's sort of what a welder was, you know. And then I got to ACC and I see all these guys who are like happy and enjoying their lives and positive. I was like, that was just eye-opening, kind of a different way to see welders, you know.
I love it. I can feel your positivity. I get jazzed up about students, so I can even get more energy from you and hearing about all your exciting experiences and meeting people who are different, right? It is that diversity, that perspective that you can use to transform other people. We don't always have to walk around. Happiness is a choice, right? So we don't have to walk around with that kind of cloudiness. And when you know your trade and you can use it and you can apply it and network, let's go. That's like my dream profession right there. Okay. Tell me about your work this semester with Professor Portillo and how has it been special? What have you liked about it? You talked a little bit about it, but now I can't like wait to see what kind of insight you're going to give me into the classroom and your experiences with Professor Portillo.
So it's something I really enjoy because I've always struggled to, like, with class when I can't see what I'm gonna get, like, in the real world out of what I'm doing. I've never, like, studied for the grade, per se, if that makes sense. I like to know, you know, where is this going? And so this has been something that is like, oh, I've done this before, except I just didn't do it, you know, nearly as well now because I wasn't thinking the right way and I wasn't, even aware of a lot of the different things that I have to consider, you know, in order to make the right thing happen. Welding's, it's kind of like painting in a way where you have to just prepare everything around what you're doing and then just give yourself the best chance of kind of making all the conditions be what you want them to be. And so that's just taught me a lot of like slow down and make everything the way that you want it to be, and then give yourself the best chance of success.
Love that. And Skills USA, I mean, getting all the way up to the top and being able to complete some of those things that you thought you would have to wait for, I think that that's what I get from Professor Portillo. Opening the doors, making those open labs, giving the access that you need and the accessibility and flexibility to make learning your own. That is what I'm taking away from this conversation.
I agree. And as Christopher alluded to earlier about Skills USA, we want to get your feedback on what that experience in Corpus Christi was like and how was it valuable to you?
Oh, it was a fantastic experience. The facilities that we competed at were really amazing, and that was kind of just like a glimpse into like one potential career path. It was, yeah, just really amazing to just be able to be there and use the gear that they had. Like, I don't think I've ever touched anything like so expensive or so, you know, cool, I guess. And the competition itself was really fun. We had a good time doing it. I kind of have like the real world experience side of the metal fabrication, and then the other two guys are much farther along in school than I am. And so it was just kind of a good mix of people, I think, and we ended up doing really good. We got 4th place. Yeah, it was just a first for all of us. And so there were a lot of nerves, but we just kind of put our heads down and ended up having a great time with it. So I'll definitely remember it.
Elliott, you know we're greedy. You got a bronze as part of the team. Can we be looking at gold maybe next year?
That's the goal.
Oh, okay,
absolutely.
All right. That's all. He's all yours now, Kisha. He's all yours.
Tell me, what other things have you accessed here at ACC that have been a support to you during your time here?
So, I mean, I work full time. I don't have a whole lot of time to take advantage of everything that the school has to offer, but I have definitely seen that there's a lot there. For me personally, it's mostly just kind of been the community itself, you know, just talking to people, and kind of the only thing I've been kicking myself over is why didn't I start sooner, you know?
So tell me, just thinking through the welding program, maybe this is a question for both of you. What ways can we better support? You talked a little bit about financial barriers being something that's outside.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about parenting students and how they might need some childcare resources or anything else. Tell me, just from that global perspective, what are ways or what are things that we could implement from a college, from a faculty perspective that could help the welding program itself?
The welding program itself. I think that is probably the number one struggle that students experience is the financial hurdles. So anything that can be done to sort of subsidize or facilitate the procurement of the materials that students need, or to defray tuition costs for students, I think that just makes it that much easier for students to show up and to focus on learning how to weld. I think that's it. That's probably all I can think of, because there are just such amazing resources that we have at our disposal.
What have you heard from the students on that end? Have you heard students experiencing anything?
Not necessarily per se. No, I was going to say too, like we have a lab over there, a resource center, I guess, and they have a ton of different tools and stuff like that. So if we struggle to get what we need or anything, we can always like borrow it from the school too. So yeah, they're definitely on top of everything.
So if you were to summarize our wonderful get-together today, what would you want folks to remember about ACC and welding? Christopher, then Elliott.
I think it's just an amazing place to come and learn the trade of welding. There's faculty that are committed to giving students a great experience, and there are wonderful facilities to do that in. So I'm a product of the institution, so I'm a bit biased, but it is an amazing place. And if you have any interest in learning how to weld, come on out and we'll teach you.
Yeah, I would say about the same thing. Honestly, it's I think ACC is kind of a hidden little gem of a place, and the community's been really great, and you get to meet just gems of humans like Chris and yourselves, and it's just really makes your life better.
We really thank you both for joining us today on Voices Uniting Everyone. This was important for people to see that workforce as well as academic degree programs are equally important and offer a way for many individuals to make a livable wage and really thrive in life. So we appreciate you so much for what you shared with us today.
I've learned about so many different certificates and tracks and specializations. I've learned about the science that you have behind it. I've learned about the relationships that are baked into what you're doing. And so thank you, from my sincere teacher heart to your sincere teacher heart to this wonderful student who's already competing at like state levels, hopefully here's to national and international levels one day, getting underwater and doing some welding if you want to.
Gold.
Well, that wraps up our episode. To learn more about this incredible welding program at ACC, visit austincc.edu/welding.
This show is about how we can change our world one student at a time. And we hope you find some inspiration in these success stories we share. To learn more about the work happening to help all our students at ACC, visit austincc.edu/belonging.
Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Voices Uniting Everyone.
Only
on
ACC TV.